Hi Chris, how are you?
Good evening, Rod. Yes, I'm well. Here we are. It's the 27th of January, 2016. No, 2026. Oh. And it's episode 209. And it's damp.
Yeah, less of the damp, more of the wind here.
Yeah, I think you and I are getting away lightly with the winds and storm currently battering the UK, which is lucky for us, but I do feel for the other people in the country because it's not very nice down south.
No, and I believe our colonial commoners over in America are having it even worse with all the snow and ice and horrible things that they're getting.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't realise that. Okay, so it's not a good time for weather generally then?
I think if you're in this hemisphere, you're struggling a bit at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So yeah, very soggy here, but I can live with it. So shall we dive into the follow-up?
Let's do it. So first off, in news nobody expected, I don't think, there's been an update for the iPhone 5.
5S.
5S. So even that, what's happening?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? So Apple have updated iOS 12 to version 12.5.8 for some reason. I can't believe they've gone all the way back to this. But it's just to extend some certificates so that iMessage and FaceTime and activation will continue to work after January 27. That's pretty good going because they could just say, look, those devices are done now, but they haven't. Don't you think that screen grab looks good? The logo looks good. The font, I think that's quite a nice look.
I really liked my iPhone 5S. I vividly remember buying it actually because I was in Florida and I'd gone out there with an Android. I can't remember exactly which Android. I think it was one of the first Pixel devices. It wasn't a Pixel device, but it was one of the first ones made by Google. And I didn't smash it, but it stopped working for some reason, and I needed another phone, and it had been driving me crazy. So I bought an iPhone 5S in Florida while I was there. I put my SIM card in it, and off I went.
What, a physical SIM card? This is craziness.
Still got a physical SIM card. It may be the same SIM card.
I don't think I had a 5S. I'm fairly confident I did 5. I'm not sure I did 5S, and I think I went to 6 because in those days I struggled to buy a phone every couple of years, let alone once a year. So I don't think I had this phone, but I just think that it was just a good picture. That picture and just it stood the test of time, right? It looks good. The cameras look a little small, obviously.
Is this Steve's last phone? Is this the last one he had a lot of input on? It's got to be around about that.
No, this is too late. This would have been 2013. Steve passed in 2011.
Yeah, but he probably was still involved with the design up to this point. Because this shape...
Quite possibly, yeah.
This shape went on to be the original SE as well, if memory serves.
Yep, I think that's correct.
So I suspect Steve would have still had a hand in the design, certainly up to 2 years out at this point. So my suspicion would be this is the last phone that Steve had anything to do with.
Yeah, quite possibly. I'd love to know how much he actually got involved with, and I don't know. Be interesting, but I think you're correct.
Anyway, I think that this was an amazing device. I think it's amazing that you're still getting some sort of update for it when they've more or less said they're going to stop supporting everything. And well done if you're still rocking an iPhone 5S.
Yeah, I'd love to know how many of these are still actively used, like on a daily basis. But there you go.
Yeah. Moving on, next story, and as we know, there was a lot of hoo-ha about TikTok's Chinese ownership. The United States government in particular didn't like TikTok. They viewed it as a means of Chinese, state-sponsored spying, effectively, happening to American users. So after much stromation involving potentially Google and Apple breaking the law, and I think the Attorney General having to make a ruling that if they continued to have it in the App Store, they wouldn't be breaking a law following Trump being elected last year. Now it's out. Now you can get it. I think it's currently broken, or it certainly was broken for the first period of time of United States owners. I think it's Oracle as a majority shareholder in it. It's now collecting even more stuff on American citizens than when it was under Chinese ownership. So that's just incredible.
Yeah, it's all a bit weird, this, isn't it? So this is TikTok is now separated from its Chinese rival, and there's now an American company behind it. And yeah, it's got backing from Oracle, which doesn't surprise me. Oracle seemed to buy bits of everything, but yeah, weirdly they were worried about the Chinese government collecting lots of data, and now it's American owned. They're now collecting even more data. So I think there's three things. It's precise location, that's what they call it, whether you're using AI, and there's one more that it's doing as well. But it seems crazy to me that we're now going to collect more information about you. Like, we're not really setting a great example here, are we?
No, and I did see a tweet since deleted about how actually it's going to collect more metrics about what users actually interact with, kind of religious beliefs they might have based on what they're clicking on and all that kind of stuff. And it all sounds deeply grim to me. I don't think this applies anywhere else in the world except the United States. If you're still an EU or UK TikTok user, it's still under its original owners, but this part of it is being managed by the Americans, and they're collecting more data on American citizens. Oh dear.
Yeah, quite. I'm quite happy I don't use social media, so this doesn't impact me whatsoever.
TikTok's a big platform, but you think this combined with the fact that they are struggling more and more to do this, then I think this is an issue.
Yeah, I certainly see my 12-year-old son utilising TikTok a lot. So, yeah, I'm not surprised by this.
Not very good at all. For YouTube users, I think my camera has gone mad, so I'm sorry about that, but we will continue. It's all about the audio. It's a podcast. Moving swiftly along, apparently the App Store is going to get more ads. Do you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, so as a shock to nobody, Apple's doing more adverts. I'm amazed it's taken them this long to do it, because we got ads, a couple of years ago, and now they're actually going to start doing more ads when you get your results come up. So they're going to be multiple ad placements, and it's only going to happen on devices running the 26.2 updates. So it's not a big surprise, I guess, they're going to do this, but I'll be honest, I don't like them. And they're also on about making the ads look less addy, where they got like the light blue background. They're on about taking that away as well. So I hate ads. I'm bored of ads. Don't we all just skip them anyway? Like, we all seem to have it built in that you just immediately scroll down, whether it's a search engine, whether it's an app store, you just skip that first chunk and ignore it.
I do understand what Apple's doing. They see revenue in the services side of things, and this is the way that they want to go to get more revenue in for them. But I this just seems so wrong-headed to me at the moment. It won't take much to actually send me off on a path about being really quite negative about Apple this podcast, so I'm going to try not to, Chris. I'm doing my best not to. I think this is bad, though. If we look at the criticism Microsoft have received for putting effectively ads in the start menu in Windows, if we looked at the criticism that Apple received in adding even their own adverts within iOS for, you can sign up to iCloud now, you can sign up to music now, you should start using your wallet now, and all these elements as well. Inserting more ads, even if it is just into the App Store, feels like a very wrong-headed move when the search is already really bad and confusing and people install scammy apps. So I don't like this at all.
Yeah, and we should probably clarify, this is ads in App Store for apps in the App Store. So it's not like they're putting ads in for things to take you off to websites and take you away from what you're doing. But yeah, it's still more ads and more revenue, obviously.
Yeah, it's really not a good look for Apple. I think that's the phrase we say more than anything else on this. It's not a good look, and it's definitely not a good look.
This isn't what they promised us when they started making OSs.
It's really not. Something else that's not a good look, and not really a surprise to anyone, is that when Trump came back into government last year, he said he was going to take the United States out of the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization is obviously a major player in things like pandemics, vaccinations, good healthy advice about diet and all sorts of things, and they actually reach out and will help countries that are in need or suffering health issues. And if we have another pandemic or something worse like Ebola, at the forefront of that would be the World Health Organization. Anyway, as promised, Trump is pulling himself out, or pulling the United States out of that, which means they're not part of lots of programs involving that. But more worryingly, they left a $278 million bill behind them in unpaid debts, basically, for what they said they were going to pay the World Health Organization. I just think this is... it's wrong on so many levels. I don't want to get started off on it, but I just think this is a really bad look for the United States. To be at the forefront of health in the world, you can see what they're doing in their own country, but they should still contribute for potential pandemics and worldwide issues that could result from this.
Yeah, so there's two things here, isn't there? Yeah, that's them putting out and them not paying their debts of what they already owe, which, yeah, I don't know what to say about it, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but they're going to just go their own way. But you're right. What are we going to do here? We need governments, to all join on these things so that we can battle things like pandemics together. Because they travel. They don't have any boundaries, do they? They will travel across countries. Yeah, so it is what it is. I guess there's not much else to say about it.
No, and I'm back on camera, everybody, and it's only the top half of my head, but I'm not fiddling with it any more than that. So at least Chris can see my gorgeous face.
Yes, thank you for that, mate.
You're entirely welcome. And last story for follow-up, and we talked about this last week, and we said, I suspect we're going to be talking about this soon. There was the West Midlands here in the UK police officer that made use of Copilot to carry out a threat assessment on a football team. He carried out a threat assessment using Copilot. Copilot said, don't have them. He said it wasn't AI, and then came through and said it was AI. And amazingly, Chief Constable Craig Guildford is now retiring from the third largest police force in the UK. I'm really surprised that he's retiring, aren't you?
Well, he should have got his facts straight and just been honest up front. Like, surely that's the right thing to do here. But apparently this is because Copilot thought there was a match between West Ham and Tel Aviv, Maccabi Tel Aviv, but there wasn't. It hallucinated. Like, fine, ask it, but go away and do your fact checking, especially something as big as this. Like, this is ridiculous.
You are one of the most senior police officers in the UK. The least you could do is maybe check some basic facts. Maybe Google it as well as just bang it in a Copilot.
Yeah, like, oh look, Copilot says there was a match and it was bad. Let's go look at that match and get some further evidence rather than just taking a one-line response.
Maybe assign someone in your team to actually do it if you don't feel confident to do it yourself.
Well, that's kind of what happened here. His team went and did this. So yes. Anyway, it's just mad. Check the facts. That's all you can say, isn't it? Just check the facts, kids.
I'm pretty sure at the bottom of all of these LLMs it says, responses by this agent may be incorrect.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, take it to heart. Should we do the news?
Let's do the news.
So first up, and back to TikTok again. Apparently, as we said, that people are actively uninstalling it now. So not only has there been issues with its pass over to the American company and server uptime and all that good stuff, as well as it tracking more information about you, but actually, as of today, people are actively uninstalling and installing a third-party app instead. So I think they might have lost the zeitgeist in America.
Yeah, it sounds like a perfect storm. They're obviously trying to move everybody from the original version to the American version, which can cause issues. They've then had some outages. Apparently it was a power outage, and bugs. So, they've had some issues there. And so people have left and they've gone to this thing called Upscrolled. Apparently that's seen a massive surge. I've never used Upscrolled. Have you?
I'd never even heard of it.
But I guess it's not really made for me since I'm not a social media person. But it's the second most popular social media app in the US App Store, just behind Meta's Threads. So it does feel like maybe this is what they should have just done all along, which is ban TikTok and get people going in other places. Instead, they haven't done that, but they've done it inadvertently by having a botched rollout.
This is a weird webpage for this app, Upscrolled. Shadow banned elsewhere. I mean, that's a certain kind of person that's coming along, isn't it? If you're immediately saying appealing to the shadow banned of a social media platform.
What does shadow ban mean? That means you're banned from that.
It effectively means that you haven't been logged out or deleted from it, but your posts aren't going anywhere on the platform.
Right. Okay.
So as far as you're concerned, you may not be banned, but suddenly your interactions go away.
Okay. So they're obviously appealing to a certain market.
It would seem so, but I guess that if TikTok hasn't got those people on it anymore, then maybe this is where you go. But yeah, never heard of it, but doing well.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's all we've got to say about that. TikTok not doing so well in America. I wonder if the rest of the world will follow suit if you lose all the Americans off of it. Were they the primary influencers, or was it from elsewhere?
I've never used it, so I can't really speak, but I do know my 12-year-old likes a bit of TikTok.
Mine did. They seem to have moved on to other things now. Although, I will say, it's interesting watching them on TikTok. I should probably move the webpage back to TikTok. That they will, if they're visiting a new city in the UK, they'll get restaurant advice and takeaway advice or whatever from TikTok. They won't look anywhere else for that.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have even thought to go there. My wife has used ChatGPT for that when we've been away. I just turn up, walk down the street and see what I fancy. But maybe that's just me.
That sounds like a fast way to food poisoning to me.
Well, I don't know. ChatGPT might get it wrong, mate. It does hallucinate.
It could send you to that concrete restaurant around the corner. I'm not saying ChatGPT's any better. I mean, I'd look at a city guide of some sort to get an idea of good restaurants. TripAdvisor, maybe.
For me, it's all about turning up and just seeing what happens.
You're more daring than I am, Chris.
Yeah. I just like to see what happens. I think that's just me.
What could go wrong? What do you want to tell us about new AirTags?
We have new AirTags. Whee! I'm quite happy we got new AirTags. Not that I want any. I'm just happy because I'm bored of people going, AirTag 2 are coming. And they've been rumoured for about a year, it felt like. So AirTags 2 are here. And they look pretty much exactly the same as the previous one. So if you can visualise one of those. But they've got longer range, a louder speaker, and way better battery life, apparently, even though it still uses the same battery. But what it has got in it is the newer ultra wideband, which will basically talk to iPhone 15s and newer, and you can use it for more precise location finding. So it seems a pretty good update overall. What I couldn't believe with this, though, is they released these on Monday, I think, and then they dropped a software update just to support them, which I was quite surprised about because I thought it's quite a small product. Surely you just roll this into a bigger software update. So I don't know whether we got more stuff coming and they just wanted to clear this out of the way, but it just seemed a bit odd. You need a whole version of iOS update to support these that they've shipped on its own.
Yeah, so it's got a louder speaker and better battery life, as you say. I guess I didn't find that the old ones were that difficult to find when they're sort of chiming. You could trundle around. More range is always good in these kinds of things. Do you think it's a very successful product?
It's obviously worth the effort. A lot of people do buy them. I mean, they're £25 here in the UK, so the price hasn't changed. I've got a couple. A lot of people have a couple of these things. Like, I've got one in my sponge bags when I put my case in the hold on an aeroplane. I know where my case is. I've got one in one of my older cars, so I know where my older car is. You know, I've got a couple. They seem pretty good. They seem to last forever, so I think they're an okay product. I don't have a huge use case for them.
I mean, it's an interesting product, isn't it? I see a lot of stories from American websites talking about you can track your luggage with it and this can happen and that can happen. And when they were launching, I remember people sending them across the country to see how well they tracked and all the rest of it. So obviously a bit of cachet. And then the negative stories came about, people being cyber stalked by using these devices. And, I've been in cars with my daughters or other people where I get the notification because they've got their AirPods on them that there's an AirTag tracking you. And all that kind of stuff, I don't really feel that Apple have answered particularly well. So just making it a little bit louder and a little bit easier to, find is, I suppose, a solid update for the product. But at the same time, I'm not sure the product has set the world on fire. It's almost like it's one of those things, you get it for the peace of mind of it, but do you actually need it a lot of the time?
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think this is... I'm surprised Apple bothered to do this because sure, it's going to be so small stakes for them. But for whatever reason, they've carried on. Maybe
it's cheaper just to have the new ultra-wideband radios and produce them now than continue to make the old ones. I mean, it could be as simple as that.
Yeah, you might well be right, which is why they've changed very little else about it, maybe.
Yeah, there was also a new watch band this week, which I've failed to include. But if you were jonesing for a new Apple Watch band to celebrate Black Awareness Month, I think it was.
Yeah, Black Awareness Month. They look quite cool.
I've thought their straps and things and watch faces that come out this time of the year are quite cool. I'm not really in the game for a new Apple Watch band at the moment, but it is there if you're looking for it. One thing that you might be in the game for, though, is the new rumoured Apple wearable AI pin. So this isn't an actual product yet. This is a rumoured product, according to Engadget from January the 21st. The picture they've got is of the Humane pin, which, as we all know, was a complete disaster of a device. Do you think this announcement links to the fact that they may have a bit more faith in a Siri-type device now they're working with Google than they did before?
So it's not an announcement from Apple.
No.
A rumoured announcement.
I did say rumour.
I wonder, are they trying to hedge against whatever Johnny Ive's cooking up with OpenAI? And is this them trying to hedge on that? Look, these guys think they've got something. You guys get on it so that we've got something as a hedge in case this does blow up. And we don't want to be caught short-footed like we did with just general AI adoption and chatbots and what have you, because obviously Apple were massively behind the curve and still are. So I wonder if it's just more that they're trying to, speculate over there what the competition are doing. Do I see my world where I'm going to be talking to something? I do not. I barely talk to anything as it is. I don't want to talk more to something. This isn't for me, but who knows? Smartphones took over. Nothing's really replaced the smartphone in, 25 years? The smartphones had a longer run. Sorry, not 25 years, probably 18 years now. Nothing's had a run like the smartphone. Like the personal computer wasn't as big as this, or lasted as long as the smartphone for dominance. So who knows? Something's going to come along and replace it, maybe, but I'm not sure.
I mean, I got two issues with this, which I may not remember because my brain is leaking out of my ears. But the first issue I've got is Apple reacting to a product like this seems like a bad move to me. They used to lead. All right, you might have something that you could see the point of, and they would innovate and iterate and make that product better or more usable. But we've seen a number of these things fail now, and I'm with you. That's my second point, is you should never bet against the smartphone. The smartphone, and we've said it before, for whatever reason, people love their smartphones. It's what you pay for things with. It's what you look things up with. You can go dating on it. You can get your email on it. You can do your messaging on it. It has become the dominant device. And, you know, as we've just seen, when an app goes a bit stale, you just download the next one from the App Store. Whereas these pins are a solution a problem looking for a question, as far as I'm concerned. They're not solving anything particularly. As you've just said, not everybody wants to talk to the devices. The Humane Pen at least tried to give you some sort of screen on it so you could vaguely see what it was doing as well. I don't think the voice assistants are A, accurate enough, or B, good enough to work this well yet. So that was my first thought. My second thought was the other way I see Apple being reactive are the rumors to the Meta frame sunglasses that we're seeing, that they've seen them have done quite well on the market, and suddenly we're not talking about Vision Pros anymore. Not that we should be anyway, because it wasn't a very good product, but they're reacting again to a fairly meh product that's in the market, and of course they'd probably do better. But this feels like a company that's sort of digging around a little bit for innovation, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think the big problem with having a voice-only assistant is you've got no fallback when it doesn't work. You know, at least like with my HomePods, if it's not working, I can go on my phone and put music out of them. But if that's my only way of interacting, I haven't got that fallback.
Yeah. So I'm not convinced this is a category that anybody should be getting into, frankly. But I guess we'll see.
Agreed. But we would all like our voice assistant to be better, like when we're in the car or when we are going to play this song and I'm in their kitchen and I'm chopping up onions. So I'm glad they're investing. Maybe there is some promise coming. Who knows? But I can't imagine me walking around with a device like this and talking to it. And this would drive me potty on public transport systems with other people just shouting out into the ether, like, because it drives me mad now. This is only going to make it worse.
That's a use case I hadn't even thought about. You've obviously been on a train recently where you've experienced this with people, you know, doing speakerphone calls or just listening to music or watching their TikToks.
Oh, it drives me potty. Everybody should just get a pair of headphones at least. So anyway, let's move on.
I just want one last thought on this. Why would you carry two devices? I mean, that's it. Why would you carry a phone and a pen? I don't get it.
How many people have got a phone and a watch? Maybe this replaces your watch.
The watch tells the time, though. Its default state is it tells time unless it runs out of battery. You know, this isn't doing
my phone.
Yeah, I think it's a different thing. I know you don't wear.
I can't answer it. I've given up wearing a smartwatch. I could actually see in my head me going the other way and just wearing a smartwatch and not having a phone.
There's a challenge. Let's move on. We've been talking about the dearth of laptops with alternatives to Apple's Apple Silicon. There's Snapdragon, obviously, in the Windows world, but not been much else, and it hasn't been very successful. Well, The Verge this week has privy to a leak from Nvidia that they're about to go their own challenge to the Snapdragon and ARM duopoly, and they're going to drop their own up to potentially 8 ARM laptops running an Nvidia CPU, GPU, silicon on chip device. This sounds quite interesting.
Yeah, do you know what? When this came out, I was like, actually, that's quite a good move for Nvidia, isn't it? Like, get them in the consumer space. People love Nvidia for obviously their graphics cards in the consumer market. Like, it kind of feels like a no-brainer. Or build your own. Why not?
My only issue with this, I think it's great, is that there will be Windows first. Nvidia has historically been a very bad supporter of Linux and other operating systems. So they need to sort out that bit. I mean, AMD haven't been great with their Snapdragon support in Linux either. We've seen that. I think you can now get some of the initial generation running Ubuntu and a couple of the other distributions, but it's kind of a locked-in Windows, you know, an Nvidia / Snapdragon, in the same way that it was back in the Wintel days. So I think if they do this is great, but they need to release drivers for open source operating systems too.
Yeah, agreed.
But other than that, I think it's cool. Let's have some competition. Let's really see where we can go with low power, high battery life devices with good screens, and presumably from Nvidia, amazing graphics performance, gaming performance.
I was going to say they call that a MacBook, but you just don't get the games on your MacBook, do you? Because you've got the battery life, performance, nice looking shell, but there's no games to play.
But you don't need to think that hard. If you think of the devices Steam talked about last time, including their version of VR glasses, which we don't know what the price is, they're running a Snapdragon chip, which is an ARM chip. So you can pair them with a computer, and you'll get the performance of the computer. Or they were able to run a limited amount of games themselves, translating an Intel game to an ARM platform. So that is obviously possible through the Proton layer from Valve. So these can do the same sort of thing. Any x86 game you're potentially going to be able to run on one of these laptops. Maybe not AAA gaming. We'll get there with that. But I think this is a super interesting move by Nvidia.
Yeah, agreed. Very genius.
Yeah. Let's see the devices, Nvidia. Put your money where your mouth is. Somebody who's putting their money where their mouth is a UK consumer class action lawsuit, which is seeking £2 billion worth of, they say dollars in this article, but whatever the equivalent is, $2 billion worth of claims over how Apple Pay harmed UK consumers. So I think this is an interesting story that we're seeing this beginning to arise, that you're actually getting a class action lawsuit in the UK, which these things are normally consumer driven. It's rare we see this kind of thing. But what they're saying is that Apple Pay's hidden fees affected 98% of British consumers.
I'm a big Apple Pay person because I just love pay, and this would be the only reason I'd wear an Apple Watch, is just to pay for stuff. This is crazy, isn't it? And apparently they've created costs in the banking system which Android just hasn't replicated. So this is why they're getting hit with this lawsuit. And yeah, it's £1.5 billion, so $2 billion. But wow, this could be insane. I can't even imagine where this is going to go.
It is odd when you take a step back from it and you think how, at the time, we wouldn't have criticised Apple for this at all. Hey, this is great. This is an innovation. We can pay with our phones. We don't need to carry a wallet. All the bonuses of being able to carry these kinds of things. And when you think about it, it's not that different from carrying a contactless credit debit card anyway, where you can just tap against it and move on. But you get the security of, well, I only need to carry one device around with me. It generates a different transaction ID, so I can't be card skimmed on my phone. And all the things we were sold as part of this. Never occurred to me that there might be additional fees incurred by the banks, but probably makes sense that there is.
But Google aren't doing additional fees.
Google weren't the dominant player in the market, though, were they?
No, that is true. They weren't the dominant player in the market. So I don't know. Again, it's not the Apple that we want to hear. It's not good.
It's really not good. So, I guess we'll have to see how this shakes out. I'm sure Apple will have a very sound, argument against how they didn't cause all this additional thing. But, yeah, we shall see, I guess.
Cue deluge of email leak now, which shows horrible Apple behaviours internally.
Speaking of horrible Apple behaviours internally, and I will try not to lose my temper, sanity, or anything else over this, I'm just going to narrate the fact that Tim Cook was seen going to a movie screening this last week. The movie was Melania, which Amazon Prime, I think, won the rights to make and screen at the White House, along with a number of other people, including Mike Tyson, Andy Jassy, who I think is the chief executive of Amazon, and a couple of others, including the director Brett Ratner. On the same day that there was another unfortunate killing in Minnesota, and I can't think of many worse looks for the chief executive officer of a company that values privacy and the value of your data and liberty and all the kind of stuff that Apple purport to be part of. And like I say, that's as much as I'm going to say about it, but that is definitely not a good look.
It's not a good look at all, is it? Yeah, I mean, the whole event, both events are very unfortunate. Obviously, the big CEOs have got to do these things. They've got to toe the line, haven't they? And the events that unfolded in Minneapolis are awful.
Do they need to toe the line?
It would appear so, if you want to be able to transact and tariffs and everything else.
Well, Tim was there. Where was Satya Nadella? Where was Sam Altman?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do they need to toe the line? This is, again, I'm not going to question, I'm not going to comment on it so much, but I question I want to say something like optics of this, really, how this looks to the rest of us who look at the company, and I think we'll just move on from that point. Do you want to tell us a happier story?
Yeah, I just put this in at the last minute, and I didn't realise it was today, but the Apple iPad version 1 that Steve did introduce is now 16 years old today, and I remember watching the video of this and wanting one so badly. I think I've wanted a bit of hardware quite so badly since this came out, and I've been an iPad fan ever since. I remember my boss came back from America because it got released in America early. He bought one. I had a play on it. It was great, and I couldn't wait to get mine. So I love that thing. And it was quite chunky. You know, the version 2 that came out after it was way thinner and way better. But what a device. I do love my iPad. I know it never reached its potential, but it was a cool way, and it still is a cool way of browsing the internet, reading an article, holding it in your hand like Steve demoed and sat on the couch. So yeah, there you go. 16 years. That's gone quick.
16 years. I remember leaving my previous job when I was still worked for the NHS, and I was so excited about this coming out that my leaving due was literally cash, so I could go and buy this the day it came out. That they'd given me enough money to go and buy an iPad as I left it. I had my first generation iPad. I remember playing it in the car on a trip to Scotland, and beginning to feel quite motion sick actually because I wasn't looking up because I was playing Plants vs Zombies on it.
Oh, I couldn't do that. I can't use these things in a car. But I remember actually being in Scotland with my wife, and we had the iPad in a cafe, and we were just looking at a map of where we're going to go, and we were just messing around on the iPad because obviously phones were a lot smaller back then, and so we were using the iPad to browse around, and it was cool.
And other than chunkier bezels, it hasn't really changed to this day.
It is great. Like, you look at that now, and you're like, yeah, it's not moved on that much, has it?
Yeah, the whole big iPhone thing is definitely a thing. Anyway, well done. Happy birthday, iPad. You're almost old enough to drink.
Look at those beautiful icons on it.
Nice skeuomorphic iOS 7 icons, yeah.
6, isn't it?
Was that 6? Yeah, 6. 7 was after. Yeah, right enough. I think that's it for news, unless we missed something, Chris. Should we do car corner?
No, I think that's it.
Car corner.
Car corner. We're going to talk bikes.
We're going to talk bikes. I just thought this was interesting. I'm a big fan of battery-powered bicycles, other than when I got knocked down by one in London. I think they provide a lot of mobility for people. They give people who can't afford or don't need or shouldn't use cars. They're better for the environment. There's a lot of positives about them. But this story in The Verge this week from Andrew Hawkins on January the 25th, just saying how New Jersey is going to require everybody effectively to register the fact that they've got an e-bike. And this will probably have a massive impact on the e-bike market. It will have an impact on micromobility and getting people out of their cars. And I just think this is very sad. In a country that is obviously stepping back from its environmental commitments and everything as well, particularly, this is just another hammer blow to, the impact of general transportation.
Yeah, I think I'm a little mixed on it because we have a lot of electric scooters here and they go on the road near where I live, and I'm very mixed on that because you see people on these scooters in the middle of the road, no reflective equipment on, bombing along, pulling out in front of cars. So that's why I think I'm a little bit mixed on this, in that I think e-bikes are generally good. I would concur with you. I'm a big fan of riding a bike. But what they're trying to achieve with the licensing, is it because they're too quick, or like what's the goal here?
They just seem to be cracking down on it, and they're in this country you're not allowed to sell an electric bike that goes over, I want to say 24 miles an hour, but it may actually be slower than that. There is a restriction in this country for how fast it can go. So I think
that's quite quick for a bike.
It is, but if you're going down a hill on a bicycle, 24 miles an hour it's not that bad, is it? Let's face it.
No, agreed.
I think they were thinking it would be about 20 miles per hour in the United States. And if you read the article, that's what the journalist is saying, is that he thought this was going to be a restriction on that top end of bicycles. Because A, you can hurt yourself. B, if you hit somebody else or something else, then you're going to come to grief. We have the problem in this country where there is a law stopping this happening, but it's trivially easy to unlock it in most cases. And in fact, most aftermarket bikes of the kind you can just slap a battery or motor onto don't have the restriction in place because they were sold for China, the Netherlands, somewhere that doesn't support the same sort of laws that we have. Your scooter thing is an entirely different thing because they're not technically, except in some city centre trials, not allowed on roads at all. The police can lift people that are zipping around on those scooters. I think Bristol city centre had a trial ongoing, London and a couple of others. But in the main, like in Swansea or other cities in the UK, they're illegal. You just can't. You're not allowed to use them. So there's sort of a dichotomy there in countries where the law is mixed. But in the United States, where there isn't a law like this, it's going to be harmful because they're so dependent on their cars.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think these are a good alternative for people that are going to work too far to walk, but yet they could be doing this, getting good exercise, not needing a car,
Exactly. If you're a commuter, you want to nip into the centre of London and you live in Slough or Swindon, this is a perfect solution for you. That you can, maybe bicycles are hard to store, your micromobility scooters are another thing, but I think they're in a sweet spot where you don't need a car. If you're about 3 miles away from work, 4 miles away from work, this is the sweet spot for you.
Yep, no, agreed.
And then our favourite topic of car conversation, or maybe not so much, Tesla. So I had a Tesla, as we've talked about in this podcast. One of the features I quite liked about it was its lane keeping. So even the default level of sort of automation you got with it would keep you in the centre of the lane. If you were indicate, you could pull out, and it would maintain distance from the car in front of you and behind you, and it would drive quite well. Anyway, as part of their full self-driving initiative, they now want to charge you $99 a month to do the lane keeping thing.
It sounds a bit BMW, doesn't it?
I think it's worse than BMW. $100 a month. That's another $1,200 on the cost of your car for a function that used to come for free.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, because everyone wants this sweet, sweet service revenue. But I don't agree with this at all. But maybe that's just me. On top of the cost of what you're paying to have the car, it's a lot of money.
I like the hint in the article that this is paying for Elon's pay bump from Tesla.
Well, they've got to bankroll him somehow, I guess. It's insane.
But in a market where you're absolutely up against it with cheaper Chinese EVs that do most of the things that a Tesla does for £10,000 less, certainly in this country, I presume it's even more in the United States, although they have lost their tax benefit for EVs there as well. You've objectively decreased the value of the car. If the Tesla was $35,000, you've just put another $1,200 a year on it. This just seems completely harebrained to me. And the promise of completely full self-driving has been promised by Tesla for the last 10 years at least. They used to sell it as...
It's been a long time.
And I know they have fully self-driving autonomous vehicles able to run as taxis in San Francisco and somewhere else. Maybe it's Austin in Texas. I forget. There's another place that they are as well. But this isn't a common thing. You're not going to be able to lease your Tesla out to become a taxi while you sleep at night anytime soon. And it's going to cost you $1,200 if you do it. Madness.
Agreed.
Media?
Let's do media.
I can't see you've added very much to media, Chris. I'm becoming nervous.
I've not added anything. I've been so busy. I've not really watched anything this year. No films. I did buy the Leonardo DiCaprio film, One Battle After Another, and I haven't watched it because it was on sale on iTunes. So I thought I'll buy that, I'll watch that. Didn't get around to it.
Do you watch For All Mankind?
Hang on, and also it's 2.2 hours 40 minutes long. Why are films so long?
It's still not as bad as that terrible, was it Scorsese film about the Wild West with also Leonardo DiCaprio in it?
Yeah, that was it.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
But why are films so long? Why can't I like a film? I can watch it usually in 2 sittings, but now it's turned into like episodes co-joined. Anyway, back to the show. Here's my rant.
I'm very excited. For All Mankind is returning on March 27th for its 5th season. I thoroughly enjoyed For All Mankind. I think you're up to date on this one as well.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's good. I'm looking forward to it. Apple do some good stuff. Who knew?
It's a good show. They're very good at science fiction in particular, so this is up there with Pluribus, Severance, and Foundation, and it's a good show. And Silo, of course. Yeah,
I haven't watched all of those. Maybe 2 of them.
It's a very short trailer. You still not watched Pluribus?
No.
Dude.
People are still talking about it. I can't watch it while it's still popular. I have to wait until it's unpopular.
I'm just going to sigh and move on. I did manage to watch a film this week as part of my ongoing Bond watch. I watched Tomorrow Never Dies, I think, on Sunday night. Yeah. Which is 1 hour 59, Chris. So, films aren't getting that much longer.
Fair. I like this film. Maybe I'm just wistfully thinking of my time at start of college. I think I watched this.
I saw this in the cinema. I remember going to the cinema to watch this, and I don't think I'd watched it again since.
Wow. I've definitely seen some of it since.
I kind of dismissed it because in my head it was not as good as GoldenEye, so it was so much further down the ranking. However, I think I enjoyed it more on watching it again. It's got Michelle Yeoh in it. It's obviously a Pierce Brosnan film. Terry Hatcher pops up in it. It's really weird looking at some of this story of a British destroyer in this as well. And there's people on the destroyer that you'd recognise. Hugh Bonneville is one of the ratings who gets a line in a Bond film. Who knew?
Well, okay, I didn't. I'm tempted to go back and watch this now just to see that.
And obviously Jonathan Pryce is the bad guy on this one. It's a very thin veneer on Rupert Murdoch or something. They're all talking about getting newspaper front pages and on the TV news, not a mention of the internet or any sort of dominance in that. So it's kind of aged quite badly from that point of view. I think you like this film because there's a remote control BMW in it. I'm pretty sure we talked about this before.
We did. The 7 Series Beamer with the Nokia phone. Awesome.
Yeah, and a BMW motorcycle, which they, in the picture here for those watching on YouTube, they slide as well. A couple of decent set pieces in this. Michelle Yeoh is excellent in it. I think she did a lot of her own fight scenes because obviously that's the background she came from. It's another sort of slightly cynical thing by the Bond franchise of trying to cash into, Hidden Tiger, Crouching Dragon, all that kind of stuff that was going on at the same time of this. But it's a more solid film than I thought it was. The critics gave it 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience gave it 53%. I think it's a little harsh. I think it would creep up into the 60s for me. 3.5 stars for me.
And it still had Desmond Llewellyn as Q.
It certainly did. But Dench is M at this point.
Yeah, so I'm slightly tempted to go watch this again. This was probably my last Bond film before Daniel Craig that I relatively enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried after this point. I think it's pretty much downhill from here. I was dreading this one because, like I say, I was a bit meh about it in the cinema. However, I think it stood up better than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, you've got like The World Is Not Enough and
Tomorrow
something
Never
after
Dies.
that.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
No, you've just done Tomorrow Never
No,
Dies.
no.
There's one after The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, the World Is Not Enough is not a great film. Is that the one with Robert Carlyle in it? I think it is.
I can't remember. I think so.
Yeah, there's a couple of quite grim ones to come.
Okay.
Speaking of less grim things, there's a new TV show out from the creator of Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin. So this is the third spin-off from Game of Thrones. Well, there's Game of Thrones. There was, I've forgotten the name. House of the Dragon was the second one, which stars Matt Smith. And now there's Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which was based on 3 short stories by George R.R. Martin. This is terrific. If you're not in Game of Thrones and all the lore that came with it and all the rest of it, this is set before those books. It's a much more simple story about a hedge knight, so he's not doesn't have a castle, basically. He sleeps under a tree, and his path to whatever he's going to become, I don't know. I haven't read the short stories. I'm just thoroughly enjoying it. I think it's it's very well filmed. They're relatively short, 45 to 33 minutes. Second episode came out, and the critics are with me on this, 95% for it. Audience a bit less, so it's 65%, but yeah, good show. Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, I've not seen any of this world, so I've completely missed all of it. It's probably in my wheelhouse. It looks good, but I just haven't got the mental space to watch more TV at the moment.
I think it's about picking your battles, Chris.
Yeah, and I've chosen not to enter that battle at the moment.
Not engaging with it at all. Games?
Yeah, go on then.
I got one. I was casting around for something to watch because I'd done my daily challenge at Gran Turismo, or weekly challenge, whatever it is. Still not buying the DLC for Gran Turismo because I'm not gonna. And I noticed in the monthly games this month, there was a little game called Art of Rally. And it looked quite interesting, as you'll see from the screenshot here on Metacritic. It's got a very distinctive art style. It's like quite sort of pastel, and it's a top-down rally racing game, which looks a bit disposable, really. But I thought I'll give it a shot. It was a fairly small download. I think it was a couple of gigs or something like that to get it, based purely on the art style. It's a cracking little game. It really is. It's sort of based 1967 up to about 1982, I think, are the only years you're allowed to play. So it's the classic Group B rally cars, Audi Quattros, Lancia Stratoses, Delta HF Integrales, things like that. There are spectators on it. You can't turn the spectators down, but they're very close to the action. The handling model's very good. The sound is very good. It's a solid little game. I'm really impressed with Art of Rally.
I thought it looked quite good. So I thought, I'll fire up my Switch because I saw it was on the Switch. I'll see how much it is on the Switch. And if it's not a lot of money, I'll go and buy it. It's 20 quid on the Switch.
Wow. That's quite a lot.
And I thought, I just want to have a go. If it was a fiver, I'd be there. So I've put it in my favourites and I'll keep an eye on it for when it comes down. But I thought this would be really good fun on the Switch. So I was going to have a go on it before the show. But like I say, it was a little bit too rich for what I was willing to spend on it. But just while you're here, if you look at the camera, I have got the Lego version of that Audi Quattro that you're seeing on the screen. And that's why I went to go and get while you were talking.
Very nice too. I mean, that wasn't even planned and it all linked together, didn't it?
There's a lot of Lego in this shed.
There's a lot of Lego. No, there we go. So Art Rally, I think it's worth checking out. And I apologise, my camera just died again during that. It's not going to be the most exciting YouTube video I've ever created.
We just have to roll with it, aren't we? I don't know why FaceTime's having a moment. I must confess, I've watched very little TV and I've played even less games. I completed Quake 1 and 2 the other week and not done a lot since.
That is a shame. It's okay that my camera's not working because for the main show, I'm pretty much handing over to you. So tell us what we're talking about this week.
So I just thought something a bit different. There's a few projects that I've been trying to do, and every week I've been trying to do some form of tech, whether it's rewiring my house, whether it's sorting out my Mac, whether it's sorting out my home kit accessories and putting them on a different wireless network. And so I thought, well, what do I want to do in 26? And I've been trying to each week set myself a couple of things to do, whether it's, like I say, programming projects, networking projects, other stuff, just because I got a bit lazy with tech and I wanted to get back to being a bit more techy. So I just listed out a couple of things I'm looking forward to doing in 26. Some of them involve spending some money and some of them hopefully involve not spending money and just doing something for enjoyment. So I start off with the first one, which is app development. I've been wanting to write an app for a long time and I had some time off earlier in the year and I got quite far advanced with doing a little game because I'm not fussed whether I make any money from it. It was just more, can I do it? Can I release something into the wild and go through all that process? Just as a goal, I've always wanted to do something like that. And I got really far with it, but then we ended up getting a dog and I went and got a job and then it fell off a cliff. And then iOS 26 came out. And so I waited for that to see whether I wanted to do anything with it. Anyway, I've managed to open up the project, dust it off. And a lot of the work I did was okay. I mean, I've improved it and I think I've made it way better. So I want to release an app this year made in Xcode with Swift UI and put it on the App Store. And even if nobody buys it, even if I've just released it and I've just done something that I think is good enough to release into the wild. So that's what I'm trying to do for this year. It's going to take me a while. I'd like to get to a point where I can send you the test flight and you can see what it's like. But I love coding. I used to be a programmer. And I'm just doing it just to scratch that itch and just see if I can put something out that's good enough. But quite enjoying it. And there's lots to do when you make an app, even with all the modern tools, because you've got the screen sizes, all the testing, all the different ways that somebody might pause the game, go back to the game, restart it. Are you going to allow people to buy something? Are you going to do adverts? Are you going to use Game Center? So that's something I'm trying to achieve this year. So that's a 26 goal. I don't know how long it's going to take me. It might take me all the way to the end, but I'd hope by Christmas I've released something into the universe. That's my goal.
I think that's lovely. I think it's nice to have the ambition to do it. It's nice that you've got the talent and the skills to be able to do it. And pushing.
I question that.
Well, no, I've seen the previous beta, so I know you've got some skills in this area, Chris, and I've known you for a lot of years. I know you've got some skills in this area, so I think it's entirely achievable that you can. And the only way you're going to get an app published is if it's a passion project. I think either you're paid.
I think so, because I've got to find the time to do it. I've got to want to do it.
Either you're paid to do it, and that's what you do for a living, in which case, fine, or for an individual app developer, it's got to be something you really believe in, and you'll put the hours in when it's not your day job. And the only way for that is a passion project, and be it open source, whatever, or be it an app in the App Store or something in the Google Play Store. These are the apps that I think are the best apps that people have actually invested themselves in to get out, and it scratches you rich. And you might not care if anybody else ever downloads it, and that's fine. You've achieved the thing you wanted to achieve, so more power to you.
Yeah, and it's something I've always wanted to do and just never done. I used to build websites and I used to love releasing a website in the world. So that's a goal for the year and I'm doing okay with it. I'm chipping away at it and just slowly iterating on it. I've got to do the boring stuff now though, like Game Center and what have you, which I've not got a huge interest in, but I just thought it'd be interesting to see how all that works. So I'm largely enjoying it. It's hard though, especially with some of the new frameworks, but actually, and I did text you in the week, Liquid Glass, I think actually looks quite good on it. So I've gone not all in on Liquid Glass, but I've Liquid Glassified it. And it's I think quite a nice modern style. So I've used it sparingly. So it'll be interesting to get your feedback because you've probably got a mental image of what the previous version looked like and what this one's, and you've seen some screen grabs and it'll be interesting to see your thoughts. But really enjoying it.
Good stuff.
So then next up was like, okay, that's my program. That's the only real programming task I want to get done this year. I've been doing other coding. I've coded some web stuff just for myself and a few other little Mac apps and things. And I've been quite enjoying that. So that's that one. The other thing I wanted to do was a bit on networking. So I've rebooted all my network here. I've put loads of Ubiquiti stuff in. I did spend too much money, but actually I've generally quite enjoyed it. And we've now got an amazing network, but I want to do a couple of other little things with it. I'm really keen to try out their travel router, which is about £60. However, it's sold out at the moment. It's about £80, so I tell a lie. And this is where you can join that router to, a public Wi-Fi, and then you join your devices to it, and then you get some level of protection because it's joining to the network and it's got a firewall, and all your devices know what it is, especially if you're away with your family, and they all join to that. So I would love to try this out because I travel quite a lot. And I just think this is quite a cool little device. I think it would be better if it had a SIM card in it, if you wanted to, so that you could either use it to join a public network, or you could use it just to join a cellular network and just have your devices go to it rather than having SIM cards and everything. But I'm curious to try out.
Would that be an eSIM card or an actual SIM card?
I'd be quite happy with an eSIM, but maybe that's just me.
I think that would be... the option to have it should be there, but I think for a device like this, it probably should have that. What I don't see on this is some sort of Ethernet jack.
There are one or two Ethernet jacks on the side, and the little panel pops out and it gets bigger.
All right, okay.
But,
so it's like
but they're not portraying it very well.
And can you connect your phone and use it as a modem then too as well?
Yeah, you can use your phone as the hotspot in essence to do the thing. But I really want to try this out. I think this looks cool. And it's about 80 quid, so it's not too much money. So this is a little travel router from Unify, and it links to your Unify universe in essence. So I think that's quite cool.
Well, I'm a fan of Unify stuff. I think it's great stuff. Good hardware. I'm looking at this now. Where's the Ethernet? What's the throughput on it? I see Wi-Fi antennas. I do see Ethernet.
So it's Wi-Fi 5, and I can't remember what the Ethernet is.
Is it gig? Is it 2.5 gig? Is it?
It won't be 2.5 gig. It'll be a gig, I think.
That's a travel.
Because it's only Wi-Fi 5.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. No, it's an interesting little device.
So that's the first thing I want to buy. The next one I haven't got a link for, but I need to buy a power adapter for my switch down here in the shed, and then I'll have a 10 gigabit backhaul between my shed and the house, which I just think is cool. So I don't know why I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do that. But that's about £60 to buy a power adapter for the switch down here. So I've already got the GBICs in, I've got the cabling in, and I just want to try that out. So I think that's quite cool. But again, just something I want to do just to scratch my own itch. And then the last bit of the network, which is the bigger bit, is I've got a Synology at the moment. I've just put a screen grab in of the one I've got. I've got one from 2013. So I've had good mileage out of it. I'm planning to pop it on eBay just to get rid of it. And then I want to then replace it with, again, another Ubiquiti device that will sit in my rack, which comes out soon. It's a little more money than I'd like to spend. But I'm tempted to get this. It's a UNAS Pro 4. It takes 4 drives. It goes in your rack. You can put a GBIC in it so you get better than 1 gig networking. And I just think that's quite a cool looking device that would sit there quite happily in my rack out the way. I know the 8-bay one is similar sort of money, which is really weird. But I'm worried the 8-bay one is too big for the space that I've got.
So it's 7-bay, not 8, bizarrely.
7-bay.
There is a UNAS Pro 8. There's a UNAS Pro, which is the one I've got. The 4, the 2. And that's the range. The UNAS Pro is clearly based on their older IPTV capture box, which was a 7-drive thing just for capturing IPTV streams. So they just recycled the hardware for that. I would point out that the UNAS Pro already has a 10 gig Ethernet adapter in it. You don't need to stick an SFP in or anything.
But the Pro 4 doesn't.
And the Pro 4 doesn't. And from what I can see, they're the same price. So you'd get 3 more drive bays and 10 gig Ethernet built in if you went for the Pro. It's a 2U unit, fine, but it's only a 2U unit.
Yeah, I just need to go look at my rack because I may have to do some rejigging. But I'm just keen to do that, and then because the one I've got so slow now, so I'm tempted to do that, and then I don't need to fill it with hard drives day one. I can do it slowly over time.
And it's in stock. I would just like to point out the UNAS Pro is in stock.
Yeah, and because the other one isn't been launched yet, so I'm debating it. It's again a bit more money than I'd like to spend, but it's quite a cool bit of kit by the looks of it.
I love my UNAS Pro. It replaced my Synology. I didn't entirely replace it. I now have the Synology just as an entirely dumb backup because I didn't see the point in taking the smaller drives out of it, and I haven't exceeded the size of what's in the UNAS Pro yet. So it just backed it as a nightly backup task to my other NAS. So why not?
Yeah, that's quite cool. Fair play.
Yep.
So that's the networking stuff. So I've been getting a lot more into my networking, and I've done loads around the house just to try and improve the network. I don't think my family know or care, but I've quite enjoyed the project to put all the IoT stuff on its own wireless that's separated, have a proper guest network that's separated, have a network for us as a family, and have a spare network that I can just play with new stuff and not annoy my family because I want to try out some settings and see if it's any quicker. So yeah, really enjoying that. That one is a bit of an expensive passion project though, I must confess. But I did sell some of my old networking equipment just to cover a little bit of the cost, but you don't get a lot for old networking equipment.
The problem with any NASs at this point is the price of the drives.
Yeah, so I may have to just reuse the drives I've got, and then over time replace them when I've got some spare money to do that. But I'm in no rush to do this one. This one's more of a slower burn at the minute.
Fair enough. What's next?
So that's the network programming, and the next one is, for some reason, I've got an itch for a 6K monitor down here in my shed. So at the moment I've got a 5K monitor, and I'll give you a link to it. So I've got the 5K Apple Studio display. I know it's not the fastest, I know it's not the brightest, but it's a 5K panel, 600 nits, it's 27 inch, it weighs a ton, it looks lovely, the industrial design is lovely, and I come down every day and I look at it in my shed and I'm very happy using it, and it's plugged into my Mac Mini, which is under the desk, so the desk looks generally quite tidy. But I really fancy a 32-inch 6K screen because I think I could do with a bit more real estate. I don't think I want two screens anymore because I was debating, do I get another screen and then push this one off to the side? But I'm just not sure I'd use it. And a lot of my job is on webcam, and you want to be looking at the screen and not over there at another screen. So the one I'm currently looking at is, and it's not really out yet, it's a ProArt by Asus 6K display that's 32 inches. It's got a great spec. It takes 3 inputs. It looks pretty good on the whole. It's about £1,200, so slightly cheaper than my studio display. But yeah, really fancy something along these lines. But I'm holding my judgment until Apple release their potential updated studio display, because that is rumoured to be coming. But we don't know when yet. But I'm curious to see what Apple's looks like compared to this. Part of me would like it to have multiple inputs, but equally I just want it plugged into my Mac Mini. I love coming down here and I just go on my Mac Mini and it just works. I haven't got to do anything and futz about with it. But I don't know whether I could look at this all day, every day.
The thing is, you look at the screen, Chris. You don't look at the surrounds of the screen. You look at the screen. And as long as it's there on your desk and works well, that's all that matters. I go between a studio display and a 4K bank, and I'm perfectly happy with both.
But every time I come in here, I see my studio display. It makes me smile. I just think it looks lovely.
Yeah. Is it worth 400 quid for lovely, though, over what's probably a wider, brighter, bigger, more inputable display?
I'm going to wait until they bring out the refreshed one, but this is something I'd love to change. I don't know why, I just really fancy something a little bit bigger. And again, I'd probably sell my current studio display, so hopefully I get a little bit of money back, but it's going to be a nightmare to sell and ship because it's so big, the box that it comes in. But I've looked after it, it's in great condition. No dead pixels. So I'm just giving it the side eye at the moment. But yeah, sadly, some of these things are quite expensive, so I'm going to have to do some saving up at some point.
You need a cheaper hobby, clearly.
Yes and no. Like the home network, I've spent no money on it. You gave me a Switch last time I did anything with the home network. Amazon sent me too many wireless points last time I did it. So I didn't actually spend much money 4 years ago when I did it. So I don't mind spending a little bit of money if I'm going to keep it for a long period of time. But same with the Synology. I bought that in 2013 or 14, and here we are a good 12 years later. So none of it owes me any money, if that makes sense. And my screen, I've had that, I bought this screen the day it came out, and what was that, 4 or 5 years ago. So that's where I'm at with everything. Sadly, it is a little bit expensive, and hopefully I'm going to do some more projects that are just more for me that don't require spending money, like looking at Docker and various other technologies.
Fair enough. Anything else?
No, I think that's my main things I want to deal with this year.
Fair enough. App of the week?
Yeah, let's do it.
The app of the week is called Bankrupt Trump. For me, this is a website called Bankrupt Trump, and its purpose is to find non-US alternatives to things. And as we said last week, you shouldn't immediately go and chuck your iPhone out the window or your Android out the window and you pick something else. But it's just to be aware that maybe you can make a few choices about things. And this is just quite a nice way of doing it. So the way that it works is there's a bunch of categories. In this case, I've gone to the streaming categories, I think, so you can look at things that for video streaming. If we click on this for a little bit, it'll make a search to see if anything's been updated over that period of time and give you alternatives. So we've got the iPlayer here in the UK, ITVX, Alt4, My5, Now, BritBox, Movie. There's a whole bunch of services. I mean, it brings in New Zealand and things here. But what you'll notice is none of these are United States services. And I just think this is quite a nice thing to be able to do, isn't it? If you didn't want to use Google Maps or something like that, you could look for a hotel finding website. You could have an alternative to maybe an American group such as Holiday Inn. This will go off and it will find you those places primarily in the UK, as our site is the UK at the moment that I'll come back with. So quite correctly for the UK, Premier and Travelodge are at the top of this because they are the big chains here in the UK. And I just think this is a good thing that might be worth checking before you buy your next gadget, plan your next trip, or, anything like that. So bankrupttrump.org.
It does feel that countries are going to more and more source from themselves, doesn't it? I think the last 2 decades of internationalization seem to have massively regressed. So I wouldn't be surprised if there'd be more websites like this.
Yeah, and there are a few kicking around, but the URL of this one I thought was particularly good. So that's my recommendation this week.
Fair enough.
Thing of the week.
Thing of the week, I've gone with an audiobook this week. I've listened to 3 audiobooks this week, which I've really enjoyed, but this one stood out. So I listened to the audiobook When Gavin Met Stacey and Everything in Between. So this is by Ruth Jones and James Corden. They wrote Gavin and Stacey, a UK, I was going to say sitcom, but I'm not sure that's the right terminology, but a very famous sitcom here in the UK that's adored by people. It spanned not quite a 20-year period, but I think it was about 15 years or something from start to end, but there was a massive gap in the middle. But the book was just really good. It was just about how they wrote some of the scripts and just a little bit of background information. And because they read the book, I thought that was actually quite good. You can obviously buy it as a book, but the audio version I thought was really good. And it was a very quick listen, really engaging. So that's my recommendation.
Fair enough. I think we call that a show, Chris.
I think so. So if anyone wants to get in contact, Rod is at g5maniac@mastodon.scot. I'm also on Mastodon and I'm at _CGP at mastodon.social. You can watch on YouTube by going to the website and clicking on the YouTube link, or you can drop us an email at wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.